So in discussing weight loss, we have to really discuss, what do we mean by weight loss? Most people, when they're talking about weight loss, they're not really looking at a scale weight dropping. I mean, that's the measurement we typically use. But the primary goal typically is fat loss. This can change with, this may not be so with some athletes trying to meet weight, things like that. But with average person, fat loss is what they're really talking about. And to really understand how to get there, how to achieve that fat loss, you really have to understand what fat is. And it's really just stored energy. We've got these specialized cells called adipocytes. They hold on to triglycerides. Those triglycerides are formed when we consume more calories than we take in. We form those adipocytes, those triglycerides. They swell the adipocytes up, and we hold on to them until we burn those calories, until we need those calories. So in doing so, we have to run a calorie deficit. We have to burn more calories than we take in. There's several different ways of doing this. You can primarily do it with diet. You can do it with a mix of diet and exercise. It's really hard to do it with just exercise. A pound of fat, 3,500 calories. And that seems like an arbitrary number when you talk calories. So what is a calorie? Well, it's nothing more than a measurement of energy. So when we're measuring energy, we can do it in calories, we can do it in joules, watts. So think of 1 pound of fat as 3,500 energy units. And so how do we get those 3,500 units to dissolve? Well, you have to run a deficit. And if you look at healthy weight loss is really obtained, you can lose approximately 1% of your total body weight per week safely. And by safely, I mean you're not losing excess muscle mass while you're losing the weight. Now, there's several different ways of preserving that muscle mass. That's kind of outside of the scope of this talk here, and I'm kind of oversimplifying things. But to essentially burn the weight off, if you wanted to lose, let's say 1 pound of fat per week, which is a very sustainable, healthy weight loss for most people, you basically would just look at the week and say, okay, 7 days in a week. If you run a 500 kilocalorie a day deficit over 7 days, that's 3,500 calories, you lose 1 pound. And now, like I said, there's multiple ways of getting there. But working it off, like I brought up, is a very hard way of doing it. If you go run 3 miles, you may burn somewhere around that 300 to 400 calorie mark. That can easily be eaten in a matter of seconds to minutes. And you can't recover from that kind of a workload enough to continue to work off those calories. You have to find another way of doing it, or you just burn yourself out, or you just spin wheels. And that's where not consuming the calorie really becomes the primary best method. Really a blend of both, but if you don't consume it, you don't have to burn it off. And it's amazing really how many calories are in certain foods. I was just looking the other day, and like 9 Hershey's Kisses contain 200 calories. Ridiculous. That's close to a 3-mile walk for most people. So it takes a lot to burn off just a little. And we usually underestimate what we're consuming, and we grossly overestimate what we're burning. And there's calorie calculators out there that can help you figure out what your basal metabolic rate is and all these other figures and how many calories you may burn in a day based on your extra activity levels. And those are numbers you need to know. And that's once again probably a talk for another time. But understanding the calories that you're consuming, fairly simple. Get a kitchen scale, weigh your food, log your food into a calorie tracker. MyFitnessPal typically is a really good one. It integrates with a lot of apps. It makes it very easy to keep up with not just your calories, your macronutrients. It makes it easy to track your micronutrients. You can keep up with how much sodium you're getting. And when we look at just weight loss in general, the fat loss is all going to go. If you run a deficit, you're going to lose fat. But people still typically step on the scale from time to time. They're like, I gained 3 pounds overnight. And it's probably the biggest psychological hurdle I have to juggle with people a lot is they see these weight shifts. And this is where these food trackers do really well. They'll allow you to go back and look at your sodium intake or a fluctuation in your carbohydrates. And those things can just hold on to water. And if you're seeing shifts of poundages from day to day, that's not adipose tissue, that's not body fat, that's not stored triglycerides, that's fluid. In some shape, form, or fashion, either you got too much sodium, you're eating a variable carbohydrate diet and you're storing it as glycogen and water's tracking with it, you're holding it in the muscle tissue, you're holding it in fecal burden because you had a bigger meal one day than the next. So if having the numbers, the data, allow you to make a much more scientific decision. And also it helps you really know what's actually going on. So you don't let that you don't lose that psychological battle. It's so easy to lose it when you've been dieting or you've been working out hard and the weight's going down, then all of a sudden it jumps back up and you've taken 3 steps forward and then 4 back. It'll just break you sometimes. But if you can go back and look and go, all right, my calories are where they need to be, but my sodium's been 3,000 milligrams for the past 3 days. That must be, my hands are puffy. It's water weight. And then all you got to do, make some adjustments to your diet, to your sodium intake, increase your water consumption, it'll come off. And something that's not modifiable or monthly cycles in females, that's a 1 to 5 pound shift the week before all the time. That's just that's when watching the scale, that's why I say the scale weight is not the definitive part, it's the fat loss. And independent of the water shifts, the glycogen storage, all that, you can still be making the gains in fat loss. So I really recommend in the fat loss journey, weigh the food, log the food, track your macronutrients, and by macronutrients, I'm talking about protein, carbohydrates, fat. This is where we get our calories from. So fat's 9 calories per gram, carbs 4 calories per gram, protein's 4 calories per gram. Now there's another sneaky place you get carbohydrates, that you get calories, that is not listed on nutritional facts because it's not a nutrient. But alcohol will give you 7 calories per gram. And it is also nothing more than sugar water. So if you're eating well during the week and you have a few alcoholic beverages on the weekend, it can increase your caloric intake by calories you're really not seeing unless you're looking at the nutritional labels, but it's also pumping you full of sugar that can be stored as glycogen and making you hold on to water because you're already dehydrated. So you're gonna have, your body's gonna already be in this flux. It can greatly change the tracking of the fat loss. So it's sneaky. Track your macronutrients, track the micronutrients, and be able to make a scientific decision on why that scale is doing what it's doing. Because the scale is no doubt the best instrument that we have on a daily basis to track our fat loss. You just got to sometimes be able to read between the lines and just hold on to that knowledge that if you are following a calorie deficit, though you are seeing day in, day out fluctuations, the trend is still heading in the right direction. Focus on the task at hand, take the good science, however you want to get there, either through exercise, through diet, a combination of both, and watch the scale slowly trend in the right direction and shooting for a goal of about 1 to 2 pounds per week, depending on your body size.